is Nancy. Welcome. It's going to be fun to paint with you today. I'm excited about it. I hope you are too. We're going to be painting this beautiful painting called The Dock. And it's going to be a very easy painting because I'm going to show you where to put the colors and in what colors to put, what order to put them in. But the great thing about doing a landscape, especially water and a sunset, is that if you don't do it exactly like mine, it's still going to look great. So I'm excited. I hope you are too. Today we have acrylic paints, and I have to laugh. You're going to laugh, okay? Look what happened to my blue paint. It went all over the place. But I have white, black, red, yellow, and blue. It's okay that mine went all over the place. I don't really care. That's okay. Sometimes paint is a little thinner, sometimes a little thicker. And so I have my paints. I have my brushes. I have a small, medium, and large brush. You don't have to have exactly the same brushes I have or the same paints, but as long as you have black, white, blue, yellow, and red, we can mix the rest of the colors. This is a 16 by 20 canvas. You can paint on any size. I also have a couple of water jars. One water jar will suffice, but if you have two, then you don't have to change it at all. Sometimes I like to change mine. I also have a pile of napkins, and I have my beverage. So if you are sipping and painting, perhaps you have a glass of wine. That's the way I like to paint. But it's still afternoon here, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I do want to give a special shout out to Michelle and Kelly and wish them a happy birthday. We are painting this in honor of Michelle and Kelly's birthdays. So cheers to you. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm doing is I'm picking up my large brush, and I'm going to cover my painting, my canvas, with just plain old water. Now let me tell you, for those of you who are watching a pre-recorded version of this, anytime I do a step, go ahead and pause your video. Just press pause, and then I'm going to keep going, but you don't have to. You can pause it as many times as you want. That's the beauty of doing these things recorded. So the next thing I'm going to do is I want to decide where my horizon line is going to be. Notice that this horizon line is slightly taller, slightly higher than halfway up the canvas. And I like to just take my white paint and just think about where that is going to be. So I'm just drawing a line with my white paint that probably you can't see, but I can. Now, anytime you're painting a landscape, you want to put in a horizon line, but you don't want to put it exactly halfway. And the reason for that is if you make a halfway line, it's exactly halfway, your eye won't know which way to go. So I want to make sure that my horizon line, which is going to divide the sky from the water, is either slightly above halfway or slightly below. It doesn't really matter which one, so long as you observe that little rule. Okay, so I use white on my brush, and I'm not even going to wash my brush for this next step. I'm just going to plop the back of that brush just right on in my yellow. I can put the yellow on both sides. And the reason I don't care if I clean my brush in that particular step is I want a bright yellow horizon anyway. So I'm going to go slightly above my white line, and I'm going to put in a yellow stripe. That's where the sunset starts. And you can see there's still a little white under there. And then right below that sunset, the sunset is the white. The yellow is where it's starting to build. The sun is always brightest when it, let me back up. The sunset is the brightest part of, the sun is the brightest part of a sunset. That's what I meant to say. So the sun will always be the brightest part of a sunset. And so I want the white to represent where my sun is just coming over the horizon. But since the sun is coming mostly on this side, I'm going to just leave that part, the white open part, because that's where my sun is setting the most. That's where the sun is setting in this painting. Okay, So what I have is basically a big band of yellow in the center, slightly higher than center, and a little white in there. Now, I'm going to keep painting, but I would recommend as you watch this video, just stop it until everyone catches up with that step. But I'm going to keep going because you can just stop it as you like. I picked up a little bit of red on my brush. I didn't even clean my brush. And the reason I didn't clean my brush is that all these colors in the sunset are going to blend anyway. And when you have a yellow on your brush and you have red on your brush, and then where they meet, it creates orange. And that makes for a beautiful sunset. Now notice I'm also painting the sides of my canvas as I go. So this should have yellow here. And then as I go up, this is going to be the red and the orange is going to blend in there. I overlapped my red right on top of the yellow to make a little orangey color. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side, but I'm going to first just put down a little more yellow because this is the side where the sun is more. And I just want to make sure that this stays nice and vibrant in here. And anytime I put a color in on top, I'm going to put a little bit less of it down here in the water. That's my water. Notice that my strokes are going back and forth horizontally. Okay, horizontally. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reflect whatever I do up here. I'm going to reflect it down in the water, except that I'm going to do it messier down here and a little less color because I am going to put blue down here as well. And whatever colors I put up here, it's just going to mix with the blues down here. So I picked up a little bit more red. Once again, stop the video anytime you're not caught up. I can keep going, you stop your video, okay? Because I don't expect anyone to paint as quickly as I do. So right now I'm painting in some red, mostly on this side of the canvas. And you notice how dry my brush is getting? Can you see that? I don't have any more paint on there, really. It's pretty much a dirty, dry brush. I can dip my brush in the water, knock it off, so there's water clinging to the bristles, but it's not going to be drippy. And when I paint using that dirty water, it makes my painting smoother. I can smoothen and blend the acrylic paint really nicely with just a little bit of water. So as I go, I'm going to do that. I knock off the excess paint and then I just paint with a little bit of water, and that's going to help these colors blend together a little bit. That yellow is dry, so I'm just going to go over it with my dry brush that has just a drop of water in it. And when I do that, it's helping these colors blend together. All right, so again, stop it whenever you want to catch up. Now here's what I want to explain about blending. A lot of people who paint with oil paints or pastels or even watercolors will tell you that you can't blend with acrylic paint. And that's actually not true. You can blend with acrylic paint. It's just the hardest of the mediums to blend with because it dries so quickly. In Denver, acrylic paint dries about in 5 to 10 minutes, depending on other parts of the country you might be in or other parts of the world you might be in. It's going to take longer than that or less time than that. Denver is a pretty dry place, so it dries quickly. But the key to blending with acrylic paint is that you don't let it dry out too much. You paint, let me just back up. So if I want to blend together two colors, remember this yellow that we put on first? It was pretty dry already when I put on some red. And when I'm dipping right now my big brush in some yellow because I want to demonstrate to you. See, there's some yellow on my brush. If I wanted to make this red up here orange, I just wait till the red is mostly dry, but not all the way dry. And then I can paint yellow right on top of it. So when I want to blend two colors together, I add the lighter color on top of the darker color, whatever that is, when the first color is about half dry. If you do it too soon after you put on the initial color, it will all just, mix together and become mud. But if you let that first layer set a little bit, let it dry about halfway, and then you put the lighter second color on top of it, you can blend pretty nicely. And then the next step of that would be to add a little bit of water. So I dip my big brush in the water, I knocked it off, and then you can see by adding a little bit of, just a little tiny bit of water, just enough that my bristles are moist and not dripping, that it blends it even more. So this blending technique takes some practice, but you'll pick it up in no time. No time at all. Now this painting is going to look a little different than mine. Mine is going to look a little different than yours. And that's the beauty of painting with acrylic paint, is that none of us have to have the exact same painting at all, okay? Now, I still didn't clean my brush because when I paint a sunset, that can be pretty messy. I'm gonna just stick a few lines just to clean my brush down here. Little color, little color. All right. Now, this painting has some blue and white up in here. And then the sunset's over there. That's a little odd to me, but I do want to honor the original artist of this particular painting, which was not me. While at the same time, I'm going to change mine just a tiny bit to stick a little bit of blue. Here's my blue. I have blue on one side of my brush and white on the other. Now, because I had some yellow and orange, I'm going to go in and clean my brush really well. Clean it really well in the water. I'm going to dab it off on the napkin. Oh, still not clean. Do it again. Dab it off on the napkin. Okay, now it's clean. I'm going to dip one side of my brush in white, one side of my brush in blue. Okay, now I'm going to get a more vibrant sky. Oh, whoops, happy accident. Don't panic if you do what I just did. See how some of the paint was flung? Don't panic. Whatever you did, don't panic, okay? It's fine. We're going to fix it. Remember what I said? This painting is so easy because if yours doesn't look exactly like mine, it doesn't matter. I'm going to show you how to make water look like water, and I'm going to show you how to make a dock. Notice how I'm painting on the tops and the sides as I go with whatever color I'm using. If I do that, then I don't have to put it in a frame. Anyway, I don't even have to worry. I'm just gonna pretend that was exactly what I was supposed to put there. The water is gonna have blue in it anyway. Now this, the sky, probably shouldn't that early. So I can take my napkin while the paint's still wet, and I can try to pull it off a little bit. And I'm just not going to worry about that little bit there. I'm just not going to worry about it. Okay. But what I am going to do is I decided I'm going to add a little bit of blue to the top of this so that it doesn't look so obvious. So this is going to be a little more gradual where the blue starts and stops than on the original. Just going to be a little more gradual. I just pulled it over to the right a little bit, right on top of that orange, just so that that doesn't look like a postage stamp so much in the corner. Just bringing that over. Now this blue is mostly dry, but it's got a little bit of wet, so just pulling it over, making it blend a little bit. All right, Here we go. So, again, stop and start, stop and start. I see areas of my canvas, and I'll show you, that have this sketchy canvas texture to it. You see that? So that could mean one of two things. It means either there's not enough paint, which there's not yet. It also means that the canvas is dry, that's the canvas showing through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little more paint, and I'm just going to pick a color that goes in well with these, and I'm going to just add it. So go ahead and stop the video and catch up with me now. All right, so in between your blue paint and your white paint, pardon me, between your blue paint and your yellow paint, be sure to clean your brush, because that is creating a little bit of green. That's okay. I don't want my whole sky to be green though. That's just kind of weird. So do clean your brush. When you mix yellow and red together, you get orange. So you don't have to clean your brush in between that, because there's a lot of orange in this painting. But when you're working between the blue and the yellow, do clean your brush. Now, so I've got a sky with all different colors in here, and you're probably wondering to yourself, how will anyone know that's a sky and this is water? Well, I'm going to show you. So remember, my horizon line is right about there, a little bit higher than midline, just a tiny bit. It's right about there. I'm going to go ahead and put some streaks in my water of this yellow, because it's going to be filled in with lots of blue in a few minutes. But keep your lines in your water really, really, really thin. And the way I get that look is I pick up my plate and I put the paint on and I chisel the brush on the corner of the plate. And that way you get this sharper edge. You see that? You want to paint with the skinny side of your brush. If that is too hard for you to make that fine edge, you can just use your baby brush, your little brush, and you will have the same effect. But the key is, on this water, make sure that your lines are really thin, okay? Because when you're looking at water from far away, like it's in an ocean or a lake, each ripple is going to look really thin. A lot of people do this. Let me show you what not to do, okay? A lot of people do this when they're painting water. I call this the South Park method of painting water. They will do this. They will just make these strange waves, okay? Now, if you're looking over the side of your boat and you're right up on top of it, or if you're swimming and you're looking right at your nose level, water will look like that. But from far away, not at all. That looks way too cartoony. So I'm just going to use my big brush on the sharp side, or a little brush, either way, and just make these lines very, very small and fine, okay? Now that blue water mixes nicely with the yellow, the blue paint, to make green. Water in the ocean is green and blue. So you can leave some of those stripes in there, those yellow stripes, but just keep adding. Anytime you add to the water, just keep adding really, really, really thin lines of blue. And if you were to look at the ocean or a lake at night, what you would find is that even though in your head you think water's blue, right? Really, it reflects all the light around it. Water's like just a mirror. So when I paint the blue paint in these thin strips, it creates, not only does it create water, but it also creates reflections on every single wave. Every single ripple has a little reflection. Those are those orange and red and yellow stripes I put on as I did this sky. So I'm just doing that. Let me show you with my baby brush Same thing. Oh, don't forget to paint the sides as you go, just like we talked about. If you paint the sides of your canvas as you go, and the top and the bottom, then you won't have to put it in a frame, and you'll save yourself a lot of money because frames are expensive and doing this costs you nothing. So I just paint the tops, the sides, and the bottom as I go with whatever paint it is I'm using near that step. And it looks like the painting is just wrapped right around. And that'll save you all kinds of money in a frame. All right, so anytime you're painting these fine lines in the water, keep your brush really steady to the best of your ability and make those lines as straight across as possible. And that's really gonna look more realistic than those wavy lines we talked about, okay? I'm gonna put my big brush in the water and I'm gonna show you with my little brush. Okay, that's my baby brush. You can also do this with a medium. It doesn't really matter, but the key is see how nice I can get these stripes on with my baby brush. The only reason I prefer to use the big brush is the baby brush will take me all day. It just is slower and more tedious. Since you're watching on a video, you can start and stop anytime. So if you want to do it with a small brush and take longer, no problem. Do that. All right. Another thing I want to show you is anytime you're painting a sunset with a reflection of sunlight in it, you want to make sure that your sides and corners are darker because it takes the viewer's eye away from the sides and then brings them up to the light, okay? So I can, in this painting here, you can see there's even some black down there. So I can take my baby brush or my medium, it doesn't really matter, and just, actually I think I prefer the baby brush, and I'll tell you why. My baby brush is not gonna let me pick up too much paint. And I don't wanna pick up too much paint. Just in this bottom area, with my baby brush, I'm just going to put in a few streaks just near the bottom right-hand corner as the lightest touch you can, like you're putting aloe vera on a sunburned caterpillar. Light, light, light touch, very little paint, and just put in a few little black streaks down there in the bottom right-hand corner. And that's going to tell my eye that this part of the water is very far from the sunlight. And it's going to bring my eye up. I can do the same thing to the other side, but since the sun is right here, I need to just be careful and use a whole lot less and maybe just a tiny bit in this corner, okay? You can bring this farther over to the left, actually. Pardon me, farther over to the right. And just at the bottom, but it's mostly on the left, okay? Mostly on the left. And it's very, very, very little paint, okay? All right, now what I'm looking at, this is gonna be broken up by clouds. I was letting the top dry a little bit. I'm noticing I still have a little bit of canvas marks in the top part of that sky. So I'm gonna take my big brush, and it has a little bit of water in it. Oops, that is not good. All right, I'm cleaning my big brush and I'm wiping it off. See, oh, that was dirty. Clean again. Can't clean these brushes enough sometimes. Okay, that's better. Okay, so I'm going to, where these little canvas marks are, I'm going to put more paint. More paint. I just want to make sure that those canvas marks aren't really super noticeable. It's okay to have some there. It's okay. But I just want to make sure that I use enough paint. All right, but I don't want it to look like a postage stamp, so I'm going to pull over some of this blue and white. Let it mix so it's a little more gradual into the orange and yellow. This is kind of an odd painting, I'm going to be honest with you. This is the one you picked, and it's a beautiful painting, but it is a little bit odd in that the sunset's here. And normally, the lighter part is here and the bluer part is there. But every painting is different. And one thing that I need to remind myself constantly as an artist, that if I'm copying someone else's work, it doesn't always make sense. Paintings don't always make sense. They don't have to be exactly realistic. Sometimes it's a feeling they evoke. So I'm adding a little bit more blue over there because I want to, and you paint colors you want to. The key is to a sunset though, is the blue tends to be higher up because that's the top of the sky, and then it's yellow, and then it's white, and then yellow, and then orange, and then red. And we have some visitors in the studio, but I'm going to keep on painting and keep on recording. And so just keep painting until you get the sky exactly where you want it. I would go ahead and turn off the video and just get your sky and your water the way you want. Now it's, again, you're not going to remember exactly where your horizon line is possibly, and that's okay, that's all right. We're going to go back in and put it in there. Notice how I'm picking up yellow and I'm putting it right into the orange, to the red, and it's breaking it up and making orange, but I'm continuing to always use that flat part of my big brush when I want to create streaks in a broader area, because that's those wispy little clouds that are floating across the sky, and they're very thin. I can do this much faster with a large brush or a baby brush than I can with a small brush, but you can also do the same thing with your small brush. And there's my light where the horizon is, and I'm going to just let you turn off the video and then go ahead and keep working until you get the water and the sky you want. Now, notice that the water looks different than the sky because it has finer lines. Can you see that? Lots of the same colors incorporated into it, but finer lines, okay? All right, so you go ahead and do that. I'm gonna smooth my painting a bit. When you're ready, turn the video back on, and we'll put in a beautiful dot. Beautiful dot. So I'm just smoothing mine out with a little bit of water. And I'm pretty happy so far. Up close, it does not look that great. But I know from a distance, people are going to be looking at my painting from several feet away, not from 6 inches away. And it's going to look like a beautiful ocean scene or lake scene and a beautiful sunset, I have no doubt. I need to step away from it and look at it from a number of feet away. And I always recommend that when I paint, when you paint, I always recommend look at it from a number of feet away. Don't just look at it from where you're sitting. It's kind of the same philosophy I have about raising kids. You need a break sometimes, and you need to get up and look at them from farther away, take a breather, and then come back, see what you see with fresh eyes, and you will love it even more, it or them. So take a break, look at your painting from across the room. Know that that's where you're going to be seeing it when you hang it in your house. Your nose isn't going to be in it every day. Okay? Now, what I want to urge you not to do, which I tend to do, is I'll overpaint. I may have overpainted this a little bit. So if you're like me and you overpainted, make yourself step away. Make yourself step away. And if you overpainted a little bit, let it dry. Let it dry, and then you can come back in and then paint white over anything that you overpainted. You can use white paint just like whiteout, what we called whiteout when I was growing up. Correction fluid, it's the same thing. You know, if you write a letter, handwrite a letter, if anybody does that anymore, and you make a mistake, you can use correction fluid, right? And correct cover over anything that you made a mistake on. You can do the same thing when you paint, okay? So you just add a little bit of white after the other paint is dry. Always make sure it's dry. And then after the white's dry, you can flick on some more colors in here and it'll be brighter. If you paint wet over wet all day long, you're just gonna have brown. You're gonna lose all those pretty streaks. You're just gonna have brown. So walk away, refresh your beverage, look at your painting from farther away, and let it dry a bit before you do anything else, okay? All right, you're doing great, I know you are. I'm gonna tweak mine. I'm looking in my camera to see where it's looking a little bit dark. Up near the horizon line, I wanna make sure that it's light enough that it's convincing to me that that's the lightest part of the horizon. Okay, so we've got, now notice my colors are a little bit different than these colors, and that's okay. It doesn't really matter. As long as you have these colors in your painting, it doesn't matter exactly where they are. I'm going to show you how to make a happy little cloud. So a happy little cloud, you just take white paint on a medium brush and you twist and turn into this like caterpillar shape. It looks like a caterpillar with an arch back. And then I'm going to use big, round, fluffy strokes to fluff open the bottom. I want the top to be rounder and fluffier than the bottom, always. And the reason for that is that the atmospheric pressure, there's a test, right? No, but the atmospheric pressure is a little lower. No, lower as you go up. And the water vapor, somebody told me this, some scientist was in here one day, the water vapor rises and gets fluffier as it goes. But toward the bottom, the moisture from the earth and the gravity and stuff pull it down and make this more diffuse down below. Also, the wind sweeps across an ocean, and then that also blows the water vapor under the clouds. So clouds tend to be fluffier on top. And I don't know what you think about my explanation. Maybe it's right on, maybe it's not. Put in the comments below what you think. But in general, clouds tend to be fluffier on the top and flatter on the bottom. So you can put as many or as few clouds as you want, but just kind of keep that in mind. They tend to be fluffier on the top. So little circles, and then pull it out, pull it out, pull it out at the bottom. Pull it out and make it wispy at the bottom. Pull it out and make it wispy at the bottom. Okay? And you can put as many or as few as you want. This one right here, it's going to be half on the canvas and half off. Yeah, why not? So I start a lot of paint on the top, and then just let my brush dry out a little bit and pull across, pull across, pull across. Isn't that nice? Nice clouds, huh? You want to make sure that your painting's not too symmetrical, so I wouldn't put another one right here and make it all look matchy-matchy on both sides. When you're painting a landscape, you don't want anything to be symmetrical. One thing you can do with that white paint, add just the tiniest bit of blue, maybe from a little blue stain on your canvas, and you can sweep a little shadow underneath your clouds as well. Just a little shadow. All right, whoever's playing in bottles over there, keep it down, will you? All right, there we go. Now, we are almost done with this painting. Yay! All right. So just go ahead and turn off the video and finish it up at your convenience. See, there's the little blue. Just sweep it out, sweep it out, sweep it out. Don't overdo it. If you overdid it, just sweep it out. Use a little bit of water. Sweep it out like a broom. Sweep it out. All right, little shadow underneath my clouds. You know, even clouds have shadows. All right. All right, so the last thing we're gonna put in is a dock, and then we're done with this beautiful painting. So for the dock, make sure that you know where your horizon line is. I know it was over here. That's still the brightest part of my painting. That's my horizon line. And I'm just going to pull it real thin over here so I remember where it is. Okay? Just real thin. This one, they used a purple color. You can use whatever color you want. But just so you know, your eye knows where that horizon line is. Okay? There's my horizon line. There it is. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to put on my dock. I'm going to take my medium brush. Remember how you chisel? I'm going to chisel that paint on the bottom of the brush, both sides. I'm going to come across here. This is black paint on a medium brush. And I'm going to take a breath, and I'm going to be slow and careful. And I'm going to hold my brush on the side, and I'm just going to pull it off as straight as I can. I'm going to go a little longer than halfway across. A little longer than halfway across. Again, if you're not caught up, stop the video. Just go ahead and stop it. All right, so I'm pulling that dot halfway across. And then make sure when you end it, because it is a dock, that you end it with a big solid, that the end of your line is not a, you know, a point that fades off, but it's really just a solid end. There's my dock. Does it have to be perfect? Heck no. All right, now I'm going to use my baby brush, and I'm going to chisel that black paint again. Chisel, chisel like that, chisel it. And I'm going to bring down very carefully a few legs every so often. Now these legs don't have to be planted or ground, you know, in anything, because they just disappear into the water. This one has a million of them. You don't have to put that many. You can put as many or as few as you want. Excuse me. All right, that ocean breeze already, I can feel it. It's making me sneeze. All right, so you can put that many, or you could put as many as this dock has. You decide. You decide. Okay, and then with my black, I'm just going to put just a few really, really skinny lines here and there. Just a few. Don't overdo this. Don't overdo it. Do not overdo this. And this is only in the water, not in the sunset, remember? Really, really thin. This is my baby brush. Don't overdo it. And make these lines kind of random width and length. Random width and length. Don't overdo it. Random width and length, okay? And not too many. And I'm going to let that dry. Then I'm going to clean my brush really well. I'm letting this dry a bit. I'm going to clean my brush really well, still my baby brush. And then I'm not going to go over the top of those black lines. Don't touch that. Don't touch the black. But over on near it or above it, you can put just little flicks of white. But don't touch the black. Try to stay away from the black. But these little flicks of light that are hovering above it, basically what that is a wave out in the ocean. That's the foam on a wave. And remember, we keep it straight because the waves are really far away. They're not close up. So that's why they don't have that curvy effect we talked about that looks like South Park. And then that black is their shadow. That's the shadows in the water. The white is the wavy parts of the water. And I'm just pulling these across, just super careful, barely touching the canvas, not too much. Don't cover all your color. You want to keep that color as best you can. Lots of colors in the water, okay? All right, see how that looks like reflections off of water? Now, hopefully you've started and stopped the video as many times as you need. This painting definitely has more orange in it. You know, if you feel like, okay, this doesn't have enough orange, you can always mix your yellow and your red, and you can make some more orange. And then if you think this painting needs more orange, then feel free to streak some more orange in there. This is your painting. You do what feels good and feels right to you. You can always streak in more orange or whatever color you like. But remember, always get up and look at it from across the room. Don't keep painting if you haven't done that yet. And I get people in my classes who ignore me all the time. They're, yeah, she's saying that to somebody else. I'm telling you, the people who have better looking paintings in the end are the ones who got up and saw it from farther away, and they were able to see what they're painting with fresh eyes when they sit down. Okay, so really take that seriously, okay? See how I just put in a little bit more orange, and just a little bit will really dress up your painting. You don't need much to really make it pop. So if you want to make it pop, or you want to stick a little bit more orange in there, go for it. It's your painting, your world. You paint it the way you want it, okay? That was just full on red. Ooh, wow, that was bold. Silly me, huh? All right, now I could play with this all day, but I don't want to, so I'm going to tone that down, and I'm going to show you the last step of the painting. All right, hopefully you've started and stopped your video a bunch, so it's not speed painting like I'm doing, but you just finish up your water at your leisure. Make sure those lines are thin, okay? All right. The last step, I'm going to clean my baby brush. I've got this dock. It has these, I don't know what they're called, braces, supports, beams, whatever they are. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a little fishing hut right here at the end. Basically, just like you made a house in the second grade. Just like a little Monopoly house right there. A little rectangle, and then an A-frame. And if you do it with your brush and your light, you might get these little wispy ends, and it'll look like a grass hut. That's kind of fun. And then there's a couple more of those way down here. A couple more. 1, 2, little hut, little hut. Fun, little fishing huts. That's fun. And then if you want to add some little people, use your baby brush and really chisel that point really, really fine, okay? And then I'm going to hold my pinky on the canvas in a dry spot just to steady it, and then just put little lines. Those little lines are people. Just little lines of people walking around, so I'm going to put them in little clusters. Maybe it's a family walking around. Maybe it's a couple of friends. Maybe it's a date. Maybe there's somebody just hanging out by themselves. But these little lines, those are little clusters of people that are walking around on that pier. This painting should really be called the pier, not the dock. All right, and I'm pretty happy with my clouds. They're just bold and bright and fluffy. Now, I'm looking at mine. Mine is complete. Mine's brighter in the yellow areas, and the clouds are fluffier. This one has more orange. Beautiful. So depending on where you are with your painting and how much you like what you have, you can leave it just the way it is. Or you can go in and you know how to add little bits of highlight or little bits of color using your baby brush, and then using back and forth horizontal motions, right? So if you say, oh goodness, there's just not enough bright over here or something, you can just go in and do it. But again, look at it from far away before you add anything, okay? And make those lines nice and horizontal to really look like water, okay? All right, so before I get carried away and do too much, I'm going to sign my painting. I'm going to use my baby brush. I'm going to use my black paint. You can use any color you like. And I'm going to sign my painting. I'm going to sign it right over here where I can see it. I like to normally sign it in the bottom right-hand corner, but since there's a lot of black over there, I think I'm going to sign mine in the bottom right-hand corner this time. Ah, what the heck, you know what? Sign it wherever you want. I was going to switch from black to maybe a little red. Feeling a little bold. Okay, so I'm going to put it right here. I'm just going to put my initials. And I am done with this painting. So, thank you for joining me as I painted the dock. It's a very forgiving painting, and you know, feel free to take your time and tweak it all you want, make it your own. Thank you so much for painting with me today at Sipping and Painting Hampden. Again, my name is Nancy, and we have lots of other YouTube videos on our website, on our YouTube channel, so check them out. We also sell painting kits for only $20. So come on by the studio sometime. Visit us at www.sippingandpaintinghamden.com. Come visit us at I-25 in Hampden and Denver. Pick up painting kits that you can take home. They're only $20 each. Take them home and enjoy painting some of those paintings in our YouTube channel. And if you like, we also have some in-studio classes as well. Right now during the pandemic, we're only doing them on the weekends, but in general, Thursday through Sunday-ish. But normally, when it's not during the pandemic, we do them every single day of the year. So I'm looking forward to when you paint with me again. And one more time, cheers to Michelle and Kelly. Happy birthday. Thanks so much for painting with me. And I look forward to seeing you again at Sipping and Painting Hampden.